Okay, continuing on our walkthrough through RLab0. Hopefully you've done the other one. If not, you should probably run through there first. We're already at line 200 of our lab, so you want to look at that one first. All right, so what I want to talk about now are packages. Packages are a way to add new commands into R, and it's one reason why R is so powerful, that it continually can be updated or improved with new versions of different software. There's two steps to getting a package to work inside of R. Install .packages, which is how we put a package downloaded onto your machine. Of course, R has a bunch of packages built in. The Truman virtual machine has more, but you can always download more. Now, you do want to watch, because on your Y drive, you have a limited amount of space. So if you start installing too many packages, you might run out of room. Then, once you've installed it, you only have to do that once, and only if you don't have it already. Then you're going to use a command called library to actually load it into RStudio so that you can use it right now. So here's an example of the car package. The car package is actually a little one, and the virtual machine actually has it installed already, but I'm going to go ahead and install it anyway just to show you what that looks like. And car is actually a regression textbook called Companion to Applied Regression that was used a few years ago. So it has some nice data sets in there, including one we'll use for the homework that's built into this lab. So install packages is what I did. I just downloaded it. You can see it put it on my U drives or my C drive so that I could access it later. But it hasn't been loaded into R for me to use. To do that, we're going to use the library command, library of car. And there you go. If you go over here to your packages tab right next to the plots, it'll show you all the packages that you've downloaded, and then the check mark shows that they've been installed. Notice that the car package automatically loads the car data package, which is sort of a dependent package within car. And you can see over here that the check marks show that we've downloaded them both. If you do uncheck it, it'll remove it from there. That's the package. I mentioned the tidyverse package a couple of times. The tidyverse package is actually 10 packages. So when you install that, or when you load that, here it goes, it puts them all in there. Notice that it does give you a little warning message, which shows that string R, which is actually meant for a more newer version. We're not going to use string R this semester, so that's okay. And you also see conflicts, which are where some of the packages cover up commands because they use the same command. So recode and filter are actually two commands we're going to use this semester a little bit. And so it does that. Of the packages that are listed here, we're going to use ggplot, tidyr, readr, dplyr throughout the semester. The other ones I'll just mention very briefly. If you want to learn more about the tidyverse package, there's actually a website, tidyverse.org, which talks about how these packages work and how they work together. Again, we're going to use readr, ggplot, dplyr, and tidyr a fair bit this semester. All right, variable assignment we already talked about a little bit. Remember, that's the idea that you just make this arrow, which has the less than sign and the dash in order to generate it. Variable names have to start with a letter, and then you can have a longer title for that. So once you define a variable like A is assigned to be 2, you remember it comes over here now so we can see it, and then we can start doing math with it. A squared. Labels can be very long. There's sort of a balance between making short labels, which are easy to type, and long labels that you know what they are. So here's one, just a.long.label.for.number.5. And when we do that, you can see it makes it over here. Notice it does truncate it. And then we can start to do math. So we can make our new long label minus the short label A. And there you go. So that shows you kind of how those work. All right, just a couple more things we're going to do, and then you can work on the rest of the lab yourself. A vector is a list of values. So we use the C command, which stands for combined or concatenate if you're a fancy coder person. And So when we say A is assigned to be combination of 1, 5, 3, 9, and 10, when we run that, you can see that it's replaced our number 5 with 5 numbers in a vector. When we hit just A by itself, it spits them out down here. We can also use the colon to mean between. So if we say B is assigned to be 1 to 5, it's now the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we can check that out. What's nice about vectors is we can then do a whole bunch of things as a result using what are called vectorized functions, which means that we can then do them all at once. So for instance, here's a really simple one. If we say A plus B, that's going to add the first number in each vector to the first one and then the second one all the way down. So if we type that in, you can see 2, 7, 6, 13, and 15 is 10 plus 5. Or we can do B squared, which squares all the elements in B. Okay, and you could imagine doing other kinds of commands to your whole vector, and what it's going to do is it's going to run that on each part of your vector separately. Now, one other thing we're going to talk about is that there are different kinds of data types. The 3 we're going to use the most are numeric, character, and factor. So here's one of the packages or the data sets we just downloaded called Titanic Survival. And if we run the header of that, you can see that age is numeric. Name is a character variable, which just has their names. And factor variables look like character variables, but there's only a limited number of them. So first class passengers are one group. There's first, second, and third class. Sex was divided into male and female, and survived was divided into yes or no. So factor variables are actually really nice because you can then start to do more and more things to them. Okay, so now I think you're ready to go ahead and work on the lab. So what you do is you just get down here, and then after each command, you can just go ahead. I guess that one doesn't have to do that, but you can go ahead and put your commands right here, whatever it is you want to do. When you're all done, what I'd like you to do is copy and paste this back on top of your Google Doc, and I guess you'll do the one inside of the virtual machine to do that. And when you copy it back, then you can go into your Google Classroom and hit submit right from there. So if you have any trouble with that, shoot me an email at salberts@truman.edu, but otherwise you can go ahead and get to work. This is actually one of the first assignments due. It's due on the Wednesday of the first week of class. So if you're watching this ahead of time, you might go ahead and get started on it. It should take you about a half hour to walk through. And it's sort of the necessary thing you need to do before we can do all the other ones. All right, thanks.